But let's talk a little bit about some of the claims that are out there, and I guess how do you recognize greenwashing when you see it? I'd like to tackle that one, Dara.
Yeah, so that was actually the impetus for us starting this project, goodguide.com, which basically was an attempt to help consumers see through the marketing claims, the single attributes, or the actual greenwash, the misleading claims, the claims that talk about our company planted trees here when their real impacts are over here, talk about this is a green water bottle when what they're talking about is they made the lid 25% smaller.
Oh, that's one of my favorite,
right.
Yeah.
Right, so we
Arrowhead, by the way.
Okay. And Fiji Water, we saw a hybrid Lexus that had worse gas mileage than the normal Lexus. We saw this whole range of things that were really, I think, misleading and deceptive. And so we basically see, I think as William was pointing out, you need to help the public and companies identify what are the key impacts of their product and their supply chain, what really matters. So I don't really care if an oil company has a really nice office recycling program, right? Or they plant some trees. I want to know what's the impact of their extraction, distribution, burning of oil, or a mining company, or a t-shirt company, whatever. You got to help people find what are the main impacts, the hot spots in the supply chain, and what are they doing on those issues? And can we show people how different t-shirt companies compare, how different cell phone companies, how different shampoo companies, help them identify the real impacts through life cycle assessment, health hazard assessment, chemical risk assessment. You need to have real science to do this, to compare whether it's their carbon or water or toxics, and then really give companies and the public a better way to evaluate down their whole supply chain relative performance along these key material impacts.
So just to clarify, you would, when someone's looking at a company claim, you would advise them to say, is this claim related to their core business and their core impact?
Exactly.
Or is this a sort of a diversion to the side of what they're really doing? Aron Cramer, you want to?
Yeah, so there are a couple of competing issues here. One is that for consumers, simplicity is really important. Dara will know better than I, but I think the average person in a supermarket spends milliseconds choosing one product or another, and a lot of it is by habit. So if it's not really simple and easy, it's not going to resonate. But all of the attributes that we're talking about are actually pretty complex, and figuring out whether a t-shirt is sustainable or not is not that simple, actually. And it has a lot to do with how a consumer actually washes the shirt rather than how the shirt was made, where the cotton comes from. So companies struggle with this. They know that they've got to translate science and a lot of and an extended value chain and a lot of complicated assessments, and then translate that into something that's really simple for consumers and not misleading. And so getting all of that right is complex, and that's where I think the word green is problematic. I think it's much better to talk about something that is greener, perhaps, because we're not yet at a place where we can say that many products are actually truly sustainable. One may be more sustainable than another, doesn't make it sustainable.
Well, not only that, I mean, I wonder, and I think there's data out there to indicate this, if consumers even really care. There's data that says, only 25% of consumers use labeling or certification as a key indicator when making a purchase. It's still a very small number when you look at the overall market. And so, the question to me is, is this a consumer issue or is it a business issue? And I think that there's a fundamental question there in terms of where's the major change going to be coming from? Is it going to be coming from business and business management, business structure, supply chain, the creation of your business as a B Corp or whatever it might be, or is it going to actually be on the consumption side where consumers can and are willing to make a big difference? Is that even possible?
Well, so yeah, I would say it has to be both. That first of all, consumer spending is 70% of U.S. GDP, drives 70% of the U.S. GDP. So you've got to take on consumers. You've got to engage consumers. And take on this gap between what they say they want. 75% of Americans say they want to buy green, and 1% to 3% actually do. So we've got to cross that chasm. People want to buy healthy. They want to buy products that match their ethics. They want to buy products that are good for their family. So how do we help them do that? But I think you're absolutely right. The main action right now is actually B2B. It's businesses demanding of their vendors, their suppliers, their supply chain for a number of reasons. It may be corporate policy. It may be that their customers are demanding it. The federal government is demanding it. So we've got to have a strategy because the problems are so grave. Climate change, biodiversity loss, health issues are so big. We've got to come at it from both angles, I think, and be pushing how do we create consumers as a point of leverage over brand-sensitive, reputation-sensitive companies, and how do we go to retailers, institutional purchasers, the big drivers of purchasing, and also build tools for them.